Today I'm going to show you how to sample into the AKAI S950. Let's go. How's it going, everyone? I hope all of you are doing well. My name is Chris. Thank you guys for visiting the channel today. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure to subscribe, like the video for that wacky YouTube algorithm, and let's get to work. I know this video might not apply to everyone. I figured it'd be cool to put a video on YouTube that shows you how to sample into the AKAI S950 and also show you guys how great the filter sounds. So enough of the chit chat, let's jump right in. So when you first launch the AKAI S950, you get your OS, and it's automatically going to take you to a screen where it says Tone Program. In order for you to record a sample into the AKAI S950, we have to make sure that you're plugged in into the mic or the line input. As you can see, I am plugged into the line input, but I would also recommend plugging into the mic input or at least experimenting with it, because the mic input on the AKAI S950 adds a little bit more character, but it distorts a lot easier. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit record. And it's going to bring this screen right here, name of sample to be recorded. Now, this is very important. It's always important to name your sounds. It keeps you organized, and although it does require just a little bit more steps, you'll be less stressed out when you're looking for a specific sample. So in order to change the name from tone to whatever you want, you're going to press letter. And using your control wheel, you're going to scroll around to the letter that you want. In this scenario, I'm just going to call this sample piano. Now I'm going to press letter again to get out of that mode. I'm going to use the page button, specifically the page down button, to go through my different windows. This is name of program for monitoring. I'm just going to leave that as is. This is my audio source, basically saying my analog input, my digital optic input, my phono input. I'm going to leave it at 1 because I'm using the analog input. And this is the audio bandwidth. Now, this is where the magic happens. This is where you can adjust your bandwidth to whatever you like. The lowest 3,000, the highest 19,000. The lower you go, the more gritty and dirty the sample will sound. The higher you go, obviously, the cleaner the sample will sound. So I'll leave that at 10,000 because I feel like that's a perfect in between. So we're going to leave that as is, but just know that you have the ability to change that by just either dialing in the numbers using the parameter keys or just scrolling the control knob. Now, the recording time is the next page that follows from the audio bandwidth. Now, this is another page that is very important. Because this was built in 1988, the recording time is set to milliseconds. So I know the length of my sample is 11 seconds. And that translates to 11,000 milliseconds. If you happen to know the length of your sample, I would highly recommend dialing it in perfectly so you don't waste any extra recording time. Now, the next page that follows is pitch of sound being recorded. Use knob or play keyboard. I'm going to leave that alone. I'm going to go to the next page, and that's going to bring me to the monitor window. To give you guys a quick routing update of how I have it set up, basically, I'm going from the output of my audio interface, channel number 6, going into the input of the AKAI S950, and then the output of the 950 is going into the input of my audio interface. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the volume here just slightly. I'm going to turn up my monitoring so we're able to hear the sample through the 950, and then I'll adjust the recording level depending if I feel like it's too hot or it needs a little bit more increase. So let me play the sample. Normally, it's cool to push a 950. It distorts very easily, and it's easy to get carried away. So in this example, I'm just going to let it kiss the top end right here just a little bit. I don't want it to go too extreme all the way over here. When I first played it, it was already in this zone right here. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to press enter. And basically right now is just going to wait for the audio. As soon as I press play, it's going to start recording. I like to go to the edit program and make sure that my sample is selected. Right now it still says tone. I'm going to flip the cursor to the right. Now it's going to say piano. And this page is where I like to mess around because this page has the legendary AKAI S950 filter. This is where you're able to adjust the loudness, transpose it fine, but most importantly, you're able to add the filter. The legendary filter that everyone that owns a 950 talks about. It's a great sounding filter, especially for its time and what it's capable of doing. So I'm going to give you guys 3 examples. I'm going to do one at 99 and then I'll adjust it a little bit further and adjust it a little bit further. I'm going to just turn this down and I'm going to increase my output knob. I'll leave it right in the center. And I'm going to press this PB button for playback so we can listen to the sample. Nice. Now I'm going to adjust the filter again to, let's say 70. Let's see what that sounds like. Nice. A little bit of filter, very subtle, but once you start getting a little bit more extreme, like let's say 40, you'll hear the filter work a lot more. That sounds fantastic. I'm going to turn it all the way down. We'll leave it at 10 to still keep a little bit of that top end. I mean, probably not a lot, but a little bit, so you guys can get a feel. And of course, let's turn it down all the way down to 0. This would be a dope bass line. And that is the magic of the AKAI S950 filter. Obviously, right now, I don't know if you guys noticed, but the output level is definitely not as hot as it was when I input it. That's because I set it to right here. I could increase that. I could increase it here. That's not an issue. But hopefully it gives you guys an idea of what the filter does, what the AKAI S950 does at 10,000 bandwidth, and what this sampler is capable of. Honestly, what's amazing about the AKAI S950 is if I were to sample that same sample at 19,000, you would not be able to tell a difference. If anything, it is very subtle, but it is phenomenal. It's a sampler that can definitely be used in the modern workflow. The only bad side about these 950s is that they're so freaking expensive now. Even the AKAI S900s. A couple years back, I remember the 900s going for $300 or something. So if you guys have the opportunity to grab one of these and mess around with it, I would highly recommend it. I paid $200 for this. And obviously I upgraded the screen and I upgraded the floppy disk drive to a floppy emulator. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that anyone that recently purchased an AKAI S950 finds this video helpful. And I will see you guys on the next one. Peace.